How's it going, wonderful people? My name is Destiny Element. I hope you guys are all doing well, and we are back with another Honkai Star Rail video for today, man. So, in today's video, we are going to be doing a tier list. So, it's actually been a while since I've uploaded my last tier list, as you guys can see, obviously. So, we have a lot of characters to add to this tier list, and there's also some characters that I do want to rearrange and move up and move down. So, that's kind of the gist of it, basically for anyone that's new to my channel, how these tier list videos work. I like to give my thoughts and my opinions and express why I put each character in the tier that they're in. Now, just because a character is in double S tier doesn't mean that they're permanently in there, and just because a character is maybe in D tier or C tier doesn't mean they're permanently in there either. So I like to kind of rearrange my tier list depending on new content, relics, and characters that come out as well too. But just some things that I do like to take into account when I rank these characters is how flexible are they? What do they look like on certain teams, like their synergy with them? How easy are they to build? The damage that they put out, the support capabilities, and also, I guess more importantly, the longevity of that character. Is this a character that is easily replaceable? So that's basically that. If you guys do enjoy the video, leave a like, comment, subscribe. It really does help me out. I'm gonna try to upload as much as I can, and I'm gonna definitely try to be a little bit more consistent because I know my schedule is like all over the place. So we're gonna have this tier list video out, and then I'm also going to have a couple more videos out before Robin and Boot Hill, and then I'm probably gonna do summons for Robin. So if you guys do enjoy the video, leave a like. It really does help me out, and let's get into it. So getting into the tier list, there are a couple placements that I do want to change before we actually start adding the new characters in. And the first character that I do want to actually adjust is Jing Yuan. I've talked a lot of shit about Jing Yuan in the past. I said a lot of times that he's a character that has a lot of his damage backloaded by Lightning Lord. You have to get to 10 stacks on him, and Lightning Lord doesn't advance his action immediately. He doesn't get any buffs at 10 stacks. He doesn't generate energy either for Jing Yuan, even though he counts as a follow-up attack, when there are so many other characters in this list who have a follow-up attack and still generate energy. He doesn't have any CC immunity, but he does hit really, really hard, and it's not just the fact that he hits hard that I'll put him in S tier, but he does have a lot of flexibility with supports, and he does perform well when you invest in him. So when you have characters like Ron Mei or Bronya or Sparkle, when you have supports like Swan that can actually protect him, I think he's a good character. I do think there are other DPSs that are better than him, but he's definitely not a bad character. The only reason why I wouldn't put him any higher in S tier or any higher into like double S tier is because he is a character that is reliant on a lot of setup and he's a very high maintenance character. So because of that, I'll probably put him in S tier. I'll probably put him like somewhere around here, honestly, with the other DPSs. But that's basically that. Moving on, I actually do want to drop Yukong down to A tier. I think now that we're getting more support characters in the game, in the very beginning of the game, all we had was Tingyun, Bronya, specifically Bronya, and now that we're having more 5-star Harmony characters come out and even 4-star Harmony characters, Yukong just seems like kind of an inconvenience to use. She requires a bit of speed tuning, and her buffs they're all right, but there's just other Harmony characters that can do her job better. And I honestly don't think she's better than Tingyun, so I would probably put her in A tier. I just don't think her and Tingyun should be in the same tier. That's my personal opinion. Also, guys, if there's any opinions that you maybe disagree with or anything that you want to share or express, let me know in the comment section. I love talking to you guys. But moving on. So another character that I do want to drop, I would probably say is, I don't know. There really isn't a lot of characters that I feel like are getting worse. If anything, I feel like a lot of characters are actually getting better. I don't know. I think this is fine. I think actually, I'm actually happy with the way the tier list looks right now for the current characters. Yeah, so let's keep it like that. let's get into the new characters, you know, because that's what you guys want to see. You guys want to see me rank the new characters. I feel like I'm gonna get a couple people mad. But we'll start off with Misha. I don't think Misha's really a good character. Misha has the chance to freeze. Pretty decent flex support for your team, but I don't know. I don't think Misha really has any value. I mean, you can definitely invest in him and use him. He'll probably do well in some content, but there's just so many other picks, you know. Like whatever it is that you're looking for, there's probably another character that does Misha's job better. So I'm probably gonna just keep him in C tier. Gallagher. I think Gallagher is a extremely strong healer. I think he does respectable damage. His buffs to himself and advancing his own action, I think, is also a really, really nice bit of utility that he has. Him also being able to heal, I think his heals are also pretty chunky. Like, he overall has a really synergistic kit. You know, he obviously gets better with Eidolons, but, you know, he does perform really well on teams with, like, dot characters like Black Swan and Kafka. He performs well with Acheron. And he's just a pretty good healer, you know, like nothing to really say about that. I would probably say he's high A tier. If you have him at, it's kind of hard. So I have Gallagher at Eidolon 6, and he's like a completely different character to play. I would just say Gallagher himself is A tier, but you know, if you do have him at E6, I would argue that he is bottom of S tier. Like, he's a really good healer. I think he's just as good as, we'll put Gallagher in S tier. Yeah, I think even without Eidolons, I think Gallagher is definitely just as good as Lynx. And I think he can definitely hold his own. You know, I like Lynx. I like the fact that she has a team-wide heal and is able to dispel debuffs. Like, I think that's really good. Plus, she has a little bit of utility as well, too, making it so that tanks and destruction characters get aggroed more. But, no, Gallagher, great healer, great character. Very, very good 4-star to invest in. Okay, so moving on to 5 stars, man. Black Swan. So this is a character that a lot of people waited for, including myself. This was the character that was supposed to make dot teams OP. And she did exactly that. You know, I want to really, really put Black Swan in double S tier, but her as a character alone, like her by herself, I think she is a very great character, but I would say she's an S tier character. I think the dots that she supply are very, very strong. I think the defense reduction that she also has off of her skill is really good. Her being able to stack her debuff really easily, her ultimate as well, giving vulnerability and just making enemies take more damage. Like, she is a really good Nihility character. Even if you're not running a dot team, if you wanted to run Black Swan as like a flex or a sub DPS or just as someone to debuff enemies, you know, she has really good passive damage. Her debuffs are great, and she's just a great character. I just don't think she's worthy of double S tier. I would say Black Swan herself is an S tier character, but Black Swan and Kafka together are double S. Like, they're like, these two together are definitely a double S tier comp, but individually they're both S tier characters, you know, and they just complement each other really well. So I mean, there's that. But yeah, moving on. Now, I will say all the characters in double S tier, I feel like every single one of them do something unique, or they just do their job, like the path that they represent, like they do their job better than any other character, and they have something in their kit that makes them like guaranteed to be put on every single team. Like, they just have a lot of longevity, they just have a very, very potent kit, and they work with so many characters, you know. Moving on, Sparkle. So at first I didn't really care about Sparkle, because Sparkle really only benefited characters who either A, consumed a crazy amount of skill points, or B, were reliant on crit damage to hit hard. And don't get me wrong, she is a phenomenal support. She works extremely well with Sealy, obviously, Jingliu, Argentine, especially Blade, Jing Yuan. She's a good character. She is a good support. I will be putting her in double S tier. I think even though she doesn't give as big as a overall damage buff is Bronya. I think the huge crit damage buff that she gives her team is valuable. The excess skill points that she also gives the team is also really potent. I will say, if you're not running a mono quantum team, you are missing out on a little bit of damage because of her talent. And because of that, I guess I can kind of see how some of her team comps are a little bit restrictive, but even so, like, her action advance and her crit damage buff, I think is really, really strong. Now, I know a lot of people would probably make the argument like, oh, well, Sparkle's in the game, why aren't you moving Bronya down? Because Bronya is going to get replaced by Sparkle. I don't necessarily think so. If anything, I think Sparkle is kind of like a side grade to Bronya, you know? Like, on one hand, you have a character who gives skill points, buffs damage, and also buffs crit damage. But she only advances actions by 50%. And when you have enemies in the game, especially late game content like Memory of Chaos, who have 160 speed, there is still a chance that an enemy will outspeed you, and you won't get your turn, even if you do advance your action with Sparkle. Bronya, I like the fact that she is very safe. You know, you have a character that can buff attack, buff defense, buff damage as long as she's on the field. She advances an action by 100%, buffs attack, buffs more crit damage off of her ultimate. But her skill also dispels debuffs, you know? So when you have characters that are going to get debuffed or that are very susceptible to debuffs like Jing Yuan, having a cleanser on your team is very, very nice, you know? And it also just gives you some extra insurance on your team. You know, you have Swan who can make your team resist one control effect. And then, you know, if anything were to happen to your team, Bronya could advance their action and dispel. And, you know, she's a great character. I would probably say that these two are pretty comparable. You can't really go wrong with either character. When Sparkle did come out, I did say, like, if you are someone that has Ron, May, and Bronya, I probably wouldn't summon for Sparkle. You know, if you are someone that doesn't have Bronya, but you have Ron May, then yeah, I would probably summon for her. Or like, if you didn't have any supports at all, Sparkle's a great pickup. But in no way would I say she's probably better than Bronya. You know, it's just we have a lot of really good support characters, and you can't really go wrong. And when you have team comps like Blade, Bronya, and Sparkle, you're just running all three of them together. I don't really see a reason to drop Bronya down to S tier. So that's my opinion. But yeah, moving on. Acheron. So Raiden Mai, the Hersher of Thunder herself, you know. This is a character, I'm going to try to be as non-biased as possible, because like I love the Honkai series, man, and like Raiden Mai is probably one of my favorite characters. The thing about Acheron is she hits hard. That's her gimmick. She just hits so fucking hard. Like, she doesn't have anything crazy about her. She just ults, and the enemy in front of you gets deleted. Now, she is in the same position as Jing Yuan, where her damage, instead of it being backloaded to another character, her damage is backloaded to her ultimate. So how I see Acheron is, she's not, in my opinion, I don't think Acheron is a beginner level character. You know, when you just start playing the game or you just start Star Rail, it's kind of hard to build Acheron and use her efficiently because of what is needed for her. Now, if you are someone that has been playing since launch, if you are in that end game, you're past Trailblaze level 60, you know, you have a pretty stacked box. If you have a lot of characters built, you know, you have more flexibility to use Acheron. Now, the reason why I say that is because Acheron is a character that can hit very hard and has a huge damage ceiling. Like, it's basically infinite. The problem with Acheron is that, one, you need Nihility characters on your team, because the more Nihility characters you have, the more damage that she's gonna do, and it's a significant amount as well. You know, she gets 160% damage increase on everything if you have 2 Nihility characters on your team. So you're kind of forced to run that. And then you also need to debuff the enemy to get her ultimate as well too. So not only do you have a character that is limited in her team comps, her damage is backloaded to her ultimate, and you need to debuff the enemy so that you can get that said ultimate. She has a lot of restrictions, you know, and that's not even taking into account how how high maintenance her relics need to be. Like every single relic needs to have speed, crit rate, crit damage, attack, speed, crit rate, crit damage, break effect. Like she has very, very high requirements, and there are certain thresholds that you need to reach with her to have her perform as well as you want her to. Now, do I think she's S tier? No. I think personally, even with her kit, even with her limited team comps, her limited supports, with her backloaded damage and the requirements for debuffs, and the threshold that you need to reach with her, I think she is a double S tier character. And now let me explain, right? For the people that have been playing Honkai Star Rail for a long time, there is not a single character in this game that pumps damage out like her. Her ultimate also gives all type resistance decrease to enemies, so they take more damage. But she's also a rainbow DPS, where when she ults, does not matter the enemy's typing, their toughness will be reduced. And when you have enemies in the game that are coming in 2.2 that have multiple levels of toughness, this is very, very important, And as long as we keep getting Nihility characters, she will be phenomenal. She is future proof. Longevity wise, you can run her on whatever team that you want because she buffs herself. She has all type resistance decrease. She has ignore weakness type. And the fact that she doesn't require energy to ult means that hypothetically you could get her ultimate in 2 turns, sometimes even 1 turn depending on the enemies that you're facing. She is a extremely powerful character, This is a character that can buff her overall damage, who has very, very high damage potential with her crit damage. And when you have characters like Silverwolf, where is she? Silverwolf, Black Swan, Kafka, Pela. When you have characters that can debuff, it's like her damage is so exponential, so she, in my opinion, will only get stronger in the future, So how I see it is like the more you invest into her, the more you will get out of her, Now, do I think she's as good as Jingliu? I think she's better than Jingliu, and I think that doesn't mean Jingliu is bad. It's just they're both good for 2 different reasons, So Acheron is good because she has a damn near infinite damage ceiling, and she doesn't require energy. She hits like a truck. She has ignore weakness type, and she still debuffs and hits like extremely hard, even with her limited team comps. But for a beginner level player who's just starting out, no, I probably wouldn't invest in her or use her. Now, Jingliu, on the other hand, is a character that maybe doesn't hit as hard, but still extremely hard. She is a character which you have to use her skill points to have her transform, but when she does transform, she gets crowd control resistance, she gets crit rate, she gets damage buffs, she advances her actions, and she hits really hard as well too. And something else that's nice about her is that she's skill point positive, because when she transforms, her skill doesn't consume skill points. So, it's like these 2 characters are good for 2 different reasons, in my opinion. Like, yes, their end goal is that they do a crazy amount of damage, but the way that they achieve that damage, I think, is, it's different. Jingliu is definitely more flexible, I would say, compared to Acheron, but I think Acheron's nihility, her debuff utility, and then her also just having such a crazy difference in damage from all the other characters, like her difference in damage compared to Jingliu and Dan Heng is pretty sizable. Like, she is a very, very powerful character that will only get better the more nihility characters that we get. That's why I would put her in double S tier. It's very hard for me to justify not putting her in double S tier when her performance is so good in so many different game modes, whether it is story, simulated universe, memory of chaos, even pure fiction, and then we are getting another game mode, another end game content that's going to run parallel to Memory of Chaos and Pure Fiction. So, we're going to see how well she performs in that as well too. But yeah, she's just such a good character. She's just really well designed. And I think the difference between her and Jing Yuan is that she does require Nihility characters to support her, but everyone has Pela. Everyone has characters like Sampo or Gwenevin even. And you know, Silverwolf is a great option for her, but like I feel like she performs well like by herself because she can supply her own debuffs, you know. The only issue that I think that really stands out with Acheron is probably light cone options. You know, her best in slot is, you know, her banner light cone, her limited light cone, you know, and then her second free to play option is Good Night and Sleep Well. That was my biggest criticism of Acheron, that she had no free to play options because we don't have any Nihility hyper carry characters before her. But with 2.2, we're getting a free light cone specifically for her, so it's like I don't really see that as a problem anymore. So I would say she's double S tier. Moving on, Aventurine. So Aventurine is going to be the last character in this tier list that we are going to be ranking. Now, where do I put him? Man. So double S tier is kind of getting filled up. I would honestly say that Aventurine is also a double S tier character. Now, the reason why I think that is because, for one, he gives a shield off of his skill compared to Gepard, who gives it off of his ultimate. His shield is stackable, and he gives himself some nice buffs. He also has a little bit of a bruiser kit as well too, because he's able to apply debuffs that increase crit damage vulnerability on enemies, and he's also able to have follow-up attacks, and those follow-up attacks are going to work extremely well with characters like Topaz and Dr. Ratio, you know. And in my opinion, Aventurine just overall is a more consistent character. Like, he is able to solo sustain and keep your team up and running for a longer period of time, and way better than Gepard. Now, when it comes to the sustains that we have currently in the game, Fushuan, Huohuo, Locha, Aventurine, Gepard, Bailu, I really can't see any sustained character touching Fushuan. You know, Fushuan I think is the best character in the game, you know, and it's not even close. Like, Fushuan has such high damage mitigation, buffs the team's HP, resists CC effects. She's able to increase crit rate. Her ultimate also does quite a bit of damage. And if you have her light cone, she also heals you as well too, and buffs your damage as well too off of her light cone, you know. So not only are you healing whenever you pop your ultimate, but you're also healing whenever a new wave of enemy shows up with her light cone, you know. And also Fushuan being able to heal herself, like, you have a tank that mitigates damage and absorbs all this damage, and she's able to heal herself, you know, and you can do it in infinite amount of time as long as she pops her ultimate and she has stacks, you know. And when you have a character that is mitigating damage and eating damage and getting hit, regenerating energy is pretty easy for her, you know. She's a pretty bulky character, you know, so whether you're getting energy regen from like a rope, or you're getting energy regen from her light cone, it's like Fushuan is just future proof in my opinion. So Aventurine is really good, but I still wouldn't put him over Fushuan, but he's still a really good character. I think he's definitely better than Gepard. I would also probably put Aventurine over Luocha. Like, there's just too many times where Luocha can't heal, or he can't act fast enough because enemies are getting to the point where they're strong enough to just one-shot him. So it's like, I don't know. I personally think, and it's the same thing with Huohuo too, but Huohuo has more utility in my opinion. Like, I really like her blast heal. I think the energy regen and the attack buff as well off her ultimate is way better. So it's like all these characters, you know, like Fushuan, Aventurine, Huohuo, like, they offer more than just tanking or shielding or healing, you know. Locha, he does have a nice smart heal, but all he offers is healing, you know, just healing. And I just don't think it's enough, because we have enemies that will one-shot you, that will, you know, drop you from 100 to 0% HP. So he's still really good, but I would probably put Huohuo and Aventurine a bit over him, you know. So that's basically that. When it comes to the tier list, I think this is pretty good for now. I don't really have any issue currently looking at it. But if you guys do have some opinions, if you guys do want to express your thoughts, let me know in the comment section. I greatly appreciate it. I love talking to you guys, and I kind of want to hear what you guys think. You know, is there any character that you think should be moved up, should be moved down? And, you know, just I guess we'll love to know your reasoning for it. But thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys for joining me. I will have a couple more videos out. You know, I'll try to have a video out every couple days or every other day, but because we're back on the YouTube grind. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for being a part of it, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Peace.